Welcome to the channel. My name's Kozmic, and after 1 year of tweeting about the game, well, I guess it's finally time to talk about it. And for those that don't know, I have been covering Japanese-based trading card games from Dragoborn, Force of Will, Final Fantasy, Luck and Logic, a lot, right? Obviously, lately been doing a lot for Battle Spirits Saga, as all the videos on the channel you can see, but there's time to finally talk about Shadowverse Evolve. So, what is Shadowverse Evolve? For those that don't know, or maybe you just want a quick overview, that's exactly what this video is going to be. So 7 years after the digital launch, we're kind of going to paper, right? So instead of going paper to digital, we're going digital to paper. And yes, it is published by Bushiroad. That's going to be coming here in the global market. But it's really important to note here that Cygames has also recently launched a US and European office, which is noted to be for like publications and promotional stuff and all that have you, but it's probably for Shadowverse Evolved and upcoming projects that we can expect. But the real important thing to note up front is that Cygames is a major player in this. It's not just Bushiroad. So what's the TLDR? I have a bunch of notes, a lot of things I want to talk about. This is going to be a longer video, but hopefully just kind of taking care of some of this stuff up front, you can get a really quick idea if this is ultimately going to be a game for you. But again, this is not sponsored. If you love Shadowverse, it's a must play. It's that simple. If you love Shadowverse, you're going to love Shadowverse Evolve, and it's something that is just a lot of fun to play in person. I actually bought the Japanese launch kit that has the 6 starter decks, the special loose format, which I've used on the channel previously. I love it. So if you're on the fence, however, I will be covering the pros and cons about it, just kind of get you up to speed on everything that's been going on within the last year and talk about it from that standpoint, right? So will I add content in the future around Shadowverse Evolve? Honestly, I'm not sure. Obviously, Battle Spirits Saga is my main focus, but hopefully down the road, if I can add, one video a week up front, and get some locals going and all that stuff, then yes, I'll probably add some Shadowverse Evolve to the channel, but all that is kind of up for debate at this time. So if you want to see that content, let me know in the comments below. So again, that's kind of just a high-level view of it. Yes, some things about organized play need to be a bit better, but truly, if you love Shadowverse or have ever played the digital game, this is a great opportunity to get back in paper format. And honestly, they've cleaned up a lot of the gameplay, so obviously I am very excited about it. So let's just cover this, kind of all the various topics, and dive right in. So artwork, right? You saw the thumbnail, man. The artwork is, woo! Cygames knows what they're doing, right? The art quality is top notch. Now, yes, some of these that I am showing off here are the highest rarity of the alternate arts that you might expect from Bandai games or just other Japanese trade card games in general, where you have some kind of special treatment to them, the textured foiling, the unique artwork, things of that nature. They've done the same thing here for Shadowverse Evolve. Now, what's important to note here is oh, wow, this is a Bushiroad and Cygames game. These cards look gorgeous. How expensive are they really? So, the cost, that's kind of the next big question that you might ask, is it going to break the bank? And no, it's not. So what I really like, and I did just a quick breakdown, this is just of one deck of the format, and I know it did well in this past weekend's event, and I just try to pick one with a lot of legends, just because that's generally where a higher price is going to gravitate to, other than neutral cards, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And what I really liked as I was going through some of these lists, and obviously I was going through Twitter and looking at some of the lists as well, there is a lot of set 1 staples in all of these decks. So that is one of the things that I'll mention, right? So if you get a really good neutral card in set 1, like Bellringer, which is obviously one that's going to just continue to see play for a while, that is a card that will naturally go up in price over time. But if you bought in at set 1, it might have been $5, right? If you buy it now, just looking at current prices, it's about 10. And honestly, for a neutral card that's played in a lot of decks, $10 is not terrible. Obviously, this is going to depend a little bit on how many people actually open up product come the end of next month and what that overall market looks like. But, honestly, it's not bad. And I really got to give a huge shout out to Cygames for how well they've done with set 1. And it's just a really nice foundational set to, round out the classes, give them a lot of stuff, obviously Ramp and Dragoncraft, we have Merlin for spam spells. There's a lot in there that is just good stuff that you're going to want to continue to have time and time again. So overall, from a cost perspective, again, I think that Shadowverse Evolve, again, not just for people who love the digital card game, but for people who are looking at maybe a secondary game, want to have some fun with it, it's really nice to get into. And the other thing that was really surprising, and I try to talk about this a lot in Battle Spirits Saga or other Bandai games, but it doesn't quite work one-to-one. But what's really nice in Bushiroad games is getting case splits. And by case splits, I really mean craft splits in this case. So there's already been a couple of vendors out there, be it, shops who are opening cases or online vendors who have a good reputation that have been doing this. And it's really nice to just say, hey, here's $150. Give me the max play set of every card that's in that set for my class, like Dragoncraft, and then I have everything. I don't have to worry about it. And especially if you have some other friends, or if you just want to build a locals and you find, 6 people to split it open with, right? Everyone buys their own starter. 6 people chip on a case, which makes it dirt cheap. Obviously, the neutrals get a little bit funky and you have to worry about that, but that price point is so much more approachable for people than obviously like, hey, buying a case or buying a couple boxes and trying to get singles. This is a game that I will say up front is much more focused around buying singles than, getting boxes. And I say this a lot for Bandai games and some other Japanese trading card games in general, where unless you're trying to build literally every deck, and unless you're trying to just have all of the meta, share a bunch of decks with friends, it's almost never worth it to buy boxes. Like, singles are just always the way to go, because, you buy your one deck and then it's maybe like $10 more to cycle into something else because you've already bought your staples that are good from one deck to another. Or if you want to finally go, oh, I played a lot of the Havencraft, let's go check out Dragoncraft, right? Then it's going to be, okay, maybe $50 if you just buy those singles and round it out past the starter deck costs, right? So it's, at least from a budgeting perspective, a lot more approachable to pick your class up front. Obviously, there's a ton of videos out there about what you really might like from a play style perspective, and just focus on that. Again, for me, that's such a big thing when compared to other games where it's like, oh, I can spend $75, get a tier 1 competitive deck, and I can play that for 3 months or whatever, if it's like 2.5 to 3 months, whatever the time frame looks like. There actually is 3 months confirmed. Never mind. We do know it's 3 months exactly, because there was some early stuff in Shadowverse where there was a delay between set 1 and set 2. It's not going to happen to us, so whatever. But it is 3 months from set 1 to set 2 in Shadowverse Evolve. So $75, right? I love that because it is far more approachable from that standpoint, that can say, okay, I pay my money, I can do this, or if I'm saving for the next set, that's $30 a month, right? So even if you're someone who is maybe just like starting off in their first couple jobs, or you're in university and money is tight from the college classes and stuff like that, it's very easy to set that aside, that money, and start saving up for the next set. So by the time set 2 drops, you say, okay, I put away $80, I can build this new deck, I can round out my class and be good. And that's one of the things I got to give a quick point here to Shadowverse Evolve over some of the other games, over Bandai games in general, right, is it's not as easy for things to go from set 1 to set 2 to set 3, right? Usually there is hard resets, if not complete resets, from set 1 to set 2 to set 3 as that gap continues to grow, right? Because they want to introduce new leaders or new key spirits or new Digimon, right? And there is a case where it's like, okay, well, now I got to buy this whole new deck, where I've truly been kind of surprised where Cygames was able to put their development resources in set 1 and set 2, that these are carrying on until set 5, which just launched recently in Japan. And these are still good cards to have. So I'm definitely expecting a lot more to carry through as the game goes on. So again, from an overall cost perspective, just to round out this last one, very approachable, very easy to get into. Yes, it is more of a singles game, but support your LGS where you can. And if you really can go the distance, find 6 for, I guess, 5 other people, split a case. That is the best way to get into the game. Plus, you get all the shiny swag there as well, too. Like, right, that's such a big deal. Going on from that, let's get into the actual gameplay side of it, right? Obviously, cost and affordability, all that stuff's great. What about the gameplay? Who cares, right? Is it something good? Is it something engaging? So I gotta say it, but they have really evolved the gameplay of Shadowverse Evolve. I'm sorry, I had to do it. But yes, Evolve mechanic has been rebalanced in that regard. So in the digital version, right, it was just a static effect. Everything could evolve. You obviously would get the stat increase. You'd get additional effects for evolving. That's kind of been gone away. So if you go second, you get 3 evolve points, which just helps you pay some of the cost. But the really important thing to note here is that you now have a side deck, which more or less works like a sideboard. In some cases, not always. It's like, obviously, good cards have evolved sides to them because you get a special effect, but you have a 10 card evolved deck and not everything is going to evolve. Now, there are other cards that'll say, pay a cost, activate it, get an effect. So it's not that it can evolve, but it has some other mechanic built into it, right? So that's another thing as we go from a digital game to a paper game, how they have, changed up some of those things. And, I did talk about cost just briefly, but the last thing I'll say there as well, it was, in that previous image I shared, yes, you do have to pull the evolved side of a card. And yes, that can be frustrating as you're opening a box, but honestly, they're cheap enough and approachable enough that it's not really a big deal. It's something that at first glance, yes, it's not good, but as you think about it, as you're opening up the boxes, as you're getting the evolved forms, like it does even out in the bigger, scope of things. And instead of having to buy 4 of a set, if and only if you need all 3 versions, you're buying 6 of a card. But thing that's to keep in mind, it's not like you're buying let's just use 20 as a price point, right? It's not a $20 card times 4 and then that's 80. The evolved cards are usually cheaper, so it might be 20 and then it's like 10 for those last ones, right? And you pay, 60 for your main, and then you put an additional 3 copies at $10 each. That's 90 versus 80. So knowing how the price point breaks down for each of the different evolved cards themselves is something worth looking into. And as we shared that price point, they are generally pretty cheap. So kind of that going aside, but I had to at least, make that as a note here because it's important overall. Getting into the other parts that really changed up was quick spells. So this honestly to me is one of the single biggest changes and just important things for the game overall. So for me, again, coming from a Magic background, having a really strong focus, even Buddy Fight, right? Like Buddy Fight was really good about this. I want to have the option of interaction with my opponent's turn, right? A lot of times, especially in Japanese trading card games in general, it's I get to do my thing, you get to do your thing, and that's it. I might have an effect that says like, aha, you have to pay 2 to do more on your next turn, but that's it. So Shadowverse Evolve did add quick spells, which are a wide variety of things that could be removal, could be spells to give additional effects. They did a quite nice job with it, if I'm being perfectly honest. And if you go back and watch some of the gameplay from the major GP that happened this weekend, they do matter. It's not just we put a quick spell in it to check a box. Like these are actually impactful cards that do get played. Angelic Bow or whatever it's called. I'm totally blanking on the name. I apologize, but it's a 1 cost 2 ping spell that sees quite a bit of play. And that's from set 1 that still sees a lot of play. And it's a quick time, so you can always just kind of surprise your opponent with it. And there's also some very, very strong neutral cards that have quick time that are, I think, silver. Like they're lower rarity, so they're not like expensive as a card, but can act as hard removal, which is important. So yes, again, it is still Shadowverse at the heart of it. It is still, I want to, achieve a certain game plan. If you're playing Dragoncraft, you want to ramp a lot and then have your big unit like do the work for you. If you're playing Haven, you have like Jean d'Arc, and that can help clear up the board. So there's still a lot of that, big fanfare style effect that is going to have an impact on the board, but there is quick time stuff. And honestly, I'm really curious to see where that goes. I think this is a great design space for them to do more with, and at least for like the little bit that I've looked into set 4 and set 5, because again, huge disclaimer, when set 3 dropped is when stuff started to get busy for Saga, so I didn't follow the meta as closely as I would have liked to, but set 4 and set 5 do look pretty dang spicy for Shadowverse Evolve, so I am looking forward to kind of catching up and seeing where things go. So gameplay overall, great. There's been a lot of improvements. I think it's a massive step up from digital. And again, from someone from a heavy Magic background, I want that level of interaction with my opponent. However, there are some negatives that I have to mention because I am trying to be fair and make sure I cover everything. And like I have I have like 3 pages of notes here. I'm trying to make sure that I cover just because of how important some of these details are. So tokens, and I'll just put up the video now. Tokens is a kind of rough spot. So this is something that obviously in this one image can look really, really bad. There's just dice everywhere. You could put like the ward tokens on and stuff like that. it can get cluttered. And honestly, this is one of my major gripes with Lorcana as well. That's going to have just a bunch of damage tokens and lore tokens and all these other tokens. You know, it said like 144 tokens in a box or like whatever it was, some absurd number. But overall, this is just like a Anthem effect that had triggered. And that's not really what the, game-to-game experience is like. As you kind of get more into the gameplay itself, yes, you might have to put like one dice on one of your guys because they took a couple points of damage and then it dies to the next one, right? It's not like you're constantly having to manipulate a bunch of dice all of the time. So it's definitely something I feel that can be, distracting at first glance. And it's like, oh, now I got to have dice. I got to move these around on places, but it's truly not that bad. The other part I will say about that is the companion app. So this is kind of a love-hate, if I'm being honest. So the companion app is a really, really, really cool app that they have to support this game, which goes into their alternate art leaders. So if you haven't seen this yet, if you know Shadowverse, one of the big things you can get is alternate art leaders as kind of like a random bonus as you're opening packs. It changes your icon, you get special voice lines and stuff that nature. You get that in Shadowverse Evolve too, which is really cool. This is something I really loved when they like showed it off. So if you open that alternate art leader, you touch it to your phone, you scan it and all that good stuff, and then you have that leader card. Obviously, you get the voice lines and all that stuff, and it's really cool to see. And they changed the UI of it, and it's a nice little touch, right? The downside I got to put here is that yes, your phones are required for major events, so obligatory, don't you guys have phones? Well, it's not as common in the West as it is in, Southeast Asia, for example, where the mobile market is just astronomically higher, right? It's a much larger focus over there than it is here. So I do see that being a slight negative in terms of hopefully people have their phones. But I imagine, you can use pen and paper at the same time. There's other for play points. There's play point trackers if you use the official math. So it's not the end of the world, but I know that for the GP events in Japan right now, there's a lot of focus on, hey, bring an external battery, have the companion app, you got to use this, and I think it's just much more acceptable over there, but we'll have to see what that looks like as it, again, approaches a more global audience. So with that, it kind of as a teaser into the, organized play and Grand Prix plans, let's talk about organized play and what that kind of looks like. So the good, let's start off with the positive here. So there is a note about a teaser of a video that they put out, and Bushiroad Inside Games really understands the importance of supporting local play. And really that is an important thing for any new game that's launching. Like there's a lot of love that's being baked into this within these organized play announcements and really trying to put the pressure back to, store championships, getting players out to the stores and all that good stuff. And obviously Bandai has had a lot of success with this as kind of a recent note, right? We have the store championships, we have the special LGS promos that are going out, which have a better circulation than how Bushiroad has done in the past. Like there's a lot of good things that Bandai is doing that other games can learn in this space. The bad part about this, of course, is the shop qualifiers leading into larger events. And there's not more details at this time. So I'm just going off what we have. And I have to ask the question, do you know a Bushiroad store near you? Because I kind of don't. One of ours just, does sell Weiss, does have Vanguard, that sprinkles in every time and again. But, how easy is it going to be to find these events? Like, yeah, it's cool to have these shop-based qualifiers. Magic obviously does very well with this, but it's Magic. That's one of the big three. They don't have to worry about a store hosting an event, right? Bushiroad doesn't have that same footprint, to be fair. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. And good news, enter the demo caravan. Bushiroad Inside Games definitely thought about this, and there is a large, grand, amazing demo caravan that's going to be going on at over 300 stores worldwide, and we know nothing about it, which is unfortunate. But, hey, more news soon. I've reached out to my Bushiroad contact. I got my store on the list, or hopefully on the list, and they're either going to be getting a demo kit or I'm going to be getting a demo kit sent to me. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and I've promised that it's going to be a really good coverage. Lots of stores that are getting covered, and to look forward to it. But again, at the time of this recording, we don't have any more details, and that's just kind of what it is. And then the last thing you'll note here, for the World Championship, the World Finals in Tokyo, this is great. I know Bushiroad for other games is if you are like the top in your region finisher, they'll fly you out to Japan, which if they're still doing that, someone correct me in the comments below. But at least for Dragoborn, when I was, doing all those qualifiers and stuff and getting to Nats, they did fly me out. So that is something very nice to see. I would love to get a trip out to Japan out of this just because, again, I love playing the game and I think there's a lot of good stuff to be had here. So let's talk about just overall, how has it been in Japan, right? So the game's been out for a year. How has it been doing? And honestly, I gotta say it's been kind of insane. So we just had a major Grand Prix this past weekend with 1,900 some odd players. Like, it was just under 2,000. So massive turnout. It is selling very, very well. And the thing I want to note here is kind of where we get more into the disclaimer of organized play, right? So this is where it starts to get into a little bit more of a, secondary part of the bad, because this is kind of just what Bushiroad does, but to some people that might not be what you're looking for, right? So good or bad, this could be depending on what side of this you want to look at it. So Bushiroad, I would say by design, by philosophy, by like the heart and soul is they just want players to come out, have a good time, get some exclusive swag, and, obviously bat it all out for some kind of trophy or, prize card, what have you. But really just make it a more of a celebration of playing the game, coming together, getting to enjoy Shadowverse Evolve or any of their other games. And you'll notice it's best of one. And I hate best of one. Obviously, I've done this for their other games. In Dragoborn, it was best of 3 with sideboarding, so that was a huge deal to me. But honestly, if you're someone who wants to play a secondary game, if you just want to have fun with it, maybe you just want to, get yourself a flight to Japan, that's probably fine. Like, you'll grind it out, do best of one and all that good stuff. And there's some really sweet promos that you get for showing up and qualifying and all this good stuff. So it's really been going very, very well in Japan. I cannot stress that enough. They're celebrating their 1-year anniversary. They're doing a lot of really, really sick promotional stuff for it. That just looks great. So the other thing I got to say is, if side games, their balancing can be questionable at times, where we do get balance patching updates on Shadowverse fairly frequently, to be fair, compared to maybe some other games. And they do see this as well in Shadowverse Evolve. But in my opinion, I'm glad to see that side games at least on top of it and saying, hey, we have to limit a card. We are watching other cards, and they call it like the Hall of Fame, if I remember correctly, where cards get restricted or banned or what have you. So more to that to come kind of down the road, and we'll see what they do for a more global version. But I think overall it was a really nice kind of note to just add in here that they do care about format health, and they are very much on top of that and what that looks like. So again, 2,000 players, lots of really sweet promos that you can get. I really love to see everything they've done for the game, and it's just been doing very, very well for what they have in Japan. So kind of rounding this out, right? Where are my final thoughts on it? Where do I think the game is going to go? Is it worth playing? And kind of all that stuff, right? So there has been a bit of, negative to this, right? There are some hiccups that we're going to have to see. So if you love Shadowverse, again, I can't stress it enough. I think you have to play this game, or at least get the starter decks for it, try it out, see if you like it. But in my opinion, it is just such a fresh take on Shadowverse. As a game that, again, I've been playing for 6 years at this point. It's just an absolute banger of a game to pick up and play. Side Games has done a really, really good job with it. And I think if anyone but Bushiroad had their name attached to it, it would obviously just be way out there, getting a bunch of word out there. The marketing would be 10 out of 10, right? We'd see a much larger kind of gung-ho approach, as we're a month out and not a lot of news. But it's something that I think definitely demands a little bit more fanfare, and hopefully we do get to see that in the next month or so. So again, Shadowverse players, 100%, you got to check it out. If you want a cheap second game to play, if you're playing, Magic, if you're playing any of the big 3, maybe you're playing other Bushiroad games, maybe you're playing other Bandai games and just want something a little bit different, then yeah, play it. It's cheap enough to get into. It is a lot of fun. It has counterplay into it, a lot of back and forth, and it's just good, fun play. Like, again, it's a very solid game. I can't stress it enough. It's not like that digital, RNG nonsense that you get a lot of times when games have to be digital focused. it is a really good, let's focus on the paper side of this game and just make it as good as possible. However, if you're that third group where you'll just want to play any game, you don't care what it is, you want a robust, organized play program with big money, gotta win money, I want bags on bags on bags of cash, I don't care if it doesn't have cash, obviously this is not for you. The trip to Tokyo and stuff like that is probably not all that attractive, and truthfully, it's best of one, which can be a huge deterrent for any type of more competitive-minded and competitive-focused players that you just kind of sweep it off the rug, and this game is ultimately not for you. Now that, yes, again, you can be competitive in this game. I want to be very, very clear, but if we are just talking about strictly cash prizing and what you can, play out that's out there today, right, that offers very good cash prizing, there is just too many games at this point to to call out that have cash prizing, and, unfortunately, the double-edged sword there is that you don't always attract the best players or community around it if it is just solely focused on cash prizing. But again, I think there's a lot of other stuff here that are good and worth noting for our Shadowverse Evolve overall, that I think that there is an audience for this, and I think there's an audience that doesn't know it's for them yet, which is why I wanted to do this video and kind of put it all together. And I try to do the best job I could at kind of just doing a very high overview. Obviously, if you want to have a proper how to play video, go check out the main site. It has some information on it. There's a bunch of other videos out there that will also cover it in a bit more detail, but this is just something that I want to put together just from a talking about it. Again, not a sponsored video. It's just something that I've been watching for a year and I am personally very, very excited for, and the artwork is actually insane. So with that, let's just get into the kind of where do we go from here? Final thoughts, kind of part 2, and just where it ends up. So yes, I will be buying into this game at launch. I will be buying the 6 starters. I will be buying a case of set 1 because if I do content right, I want to make sure that I have enough to play every single deck. And, if forgive me, Top Deck Heroes, I know, giving them a quick shout out. They're doing content for the game right now. Or obviously Different Fight is doing a lot of stuff for it, right? If people just want me to just show up on a channel to do recorded games with, I'll be happy to do that as well. Like, I just really enjoy watching the game play out and also just playing it. I think it's a very, very fun game, all things considered. And going one step further, if it doesn't conflict with Battle Spirits Saga, again, that is my main game. It's not going anywhere. It's going to stay the primary focus of this channel. If I can find a weekend where it's not something Saga related and I can go to a Bushy Road regional, right? I've qualified at my local store. I'm going to an event. Yeah, I'm going to travel for this game because, again, I just really do enjoy playing it. So that is kind of where we're at a very high level with it. And hopefully, it does well. I think it is a very fun game that deserves a bit more fanfare than what it's been getting. And as someone, again, who's been following it for the last year, there's just a lot of good stuff going on. So that was a lot of talking just to get through it. But again, I think it's just a lot of fun. It really has bummed me out that we haven't seen a lot more marketing, or again, I keep using fanfare, and I hate to sound like a broken record. It's just late at the time that I'm recording this. I'm a little bit tired because I want to make sure I get this ready for the next day. I think there's a lot of good that could happen here. I'm really waiting to see what that second organized play announcement looks like from Bushy Road, because they did say that there was more to come. And I think as long as the demo caravan event goes well, and as long as they can treat their local game store level of support with a little bit more, pizzazz than what they've been doing in the past, I think this game can do very, very well, because again, the artwork is amazing. And I think that's one part that's really going to catch a lot of people, that the artwork itself, there's a good variety of it. And there's a lot of stuff that I think can draw in a lot of different players, as well as play styles, right? Just going from Runecraft to Dragoncraft to Forest. There's a lot of different things that you can do and have fun with. So it really does feel like there's something for everyone, and especially to go back to Bondi games in general, because again, that's what just my main focus has been. And from a discussion standpoint, if you like yellow, yellow does a lot of yellow things. Red does a lot of red things, right? You still have that individual class that, yes, there's a bit more open and deck building process that you can have with Bondi games in general, compared to having the class focus of Shadowverse Evolve. but it's still something that you generally like one particular playstyle, and that's what you stick with. So I think Shadowverse Evolve lends itself very, very well if you're someone like me who really loves Dragoncraft, for example, and that's like your go-to. It's very easy to just buy that split every set and then just have that one set, like, or one class, I should say, like, be your thing. And then that you can just play that for regional after regional after regional. So with that, that was a lot of talking and just kind of my, I guess 1 year recap of the game, right? Like, obviously, I've been doing a lot of other stuff. It was the first game that I thought I was going to make content for. Again, if I'm being perfectly honest, Shadowverse Evolve got announced in April of last, or I guess a little bit before April of last year. I'm like, man, this is the game. This is the paper game that's going to get me back on track, make some YouTube videos again, just celebrate the game. And then I got Saga news, and I'm like, oh, damn, this is actually everything that I've ever wanted in a card game. So again, to me, Shadowverse Evolve is not perfect, but it is so, so fun that I am looking forward to picking up and playing. So with that, what are your thoughts? Hopefully this did a good job at kind of giving the overall landscape of it, but is it something that you are looking forward to the release? Are you a, Dragoncraft main who's just going to maybe pick their split and go? Or are you someone who maybe likes to play a couple different decks and really get to explore the format? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And the last thing I will say, I meant to actually put this in the higher section and it just came to me that I forgot. But the other thing that's really nice about Shadowverse Evolve, now that as a content creator, I've been doing a lot of stuff for Saga, and to be on the other side of it, it's kind of nice just to have a solved meta already, and at least like, here's a deck that is going to do well in this format, and you can tweak 5 or 6 cards of it, make it your own side of thing, but just have a deck that works, and this is something that you can play, right? So I love getting the spoilers for Saga and like getting genuinely excited for it, but man, sometimes I just want somebody to hand me a deck and say, look, play this, it's going to be fun, you're going to have a good time with it. And I'll give a shout out to a link in the comments below where you can find all those kind of meta reports and stuff like that. And then again, who knows? If we see stuff like that in the future, I'll probably do my meta report Mondays for Shadowverse Evolve as well, if we can get some local support behind it. So again, I'm very excited. I hope you are excited for Shadowverse Evolve for those that are looking forward to it, but I think it is a good game that definitely deserves a little bit more love and can honestly do quite well with a global launch if Psy Games can really hit the ground running with this one. So again, let me know in your comments below. And also, if you want to see more Shadowverse Evolve content on the channel, comment below and all that good stuff. So with that, my friends, have a great rest of your week. Stay hydrated, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.